welcome to LVS Perspectives, and today I have my boss in the room, so I better get it right. Welcome to Chris Welham, the CEO of the Licensed Trade Charity, who joins us today. It's an audience with you, Chris. So I'm going to kick off now. So how long have you been with us?
March 24 last year, so it's going to be, what's that, 18, 20 months or so?
Yeah.
Yeah, seems to have gone very quickly.
Brilliant.
Very much enjoyed it, love the charity, love the schools and what we're doing.
Yeah.
Loads to talk about in that respect, but yeah, all good. So
Brilliant.
Because I am your boss, you have to behave.
We'll see. Okay, but audience, if you've got a tough question for the boss, you can always put it on our chat, and it's an open forum here. But obviously, bear in mind we are a school, and this goes out live for our parents as well. So if you're not a parent, then we have to know that we are in a school right now, and we have to behave ourselves.
Absolutely.
To a certain extent. So Chris, let's start off. We're predominantly a school. I run LVS Ascot. Do you remember your first day at school?
Oh, I do. Primary school.
Yeah.
Oh, crikey, yes. Yeah, we lived in a little village called Ardingly, and the little school that we went to was probably about a 10-minute walk from the house up the road. Yeah. I remember the uniform, I remember the smells, yeah. I remember the teachers. It was fun. Yeah. I loved it. I mean, it was a community, and everybody knew each other. But it was just great, and I really enjoyed it. We did all the things that you'd expect in terms of the learning, but the friendships that you forged and the sort of scrapes you got into, playing the football at break time, and I remember Mrs. Mummery serving fabulous food at lunchtime. It was great. I really enjoyed it. It does bring back a memory though, because I remember being naughty one day writing on a desk, and the smell of walnuts was relevant to that desk, because when you lift up the desk, the smell, and I got told off. Yeah. So sometimes when I have a walnut now, it takes me straight back, a bit like that Ratatouille moment. Yeah. And I go, oh crikey, yeah, I remember what happened those days.
Were they the desks that you could lift them up? Yeah. And they would, weren't they? And they had the little inkwell.
Yeah. And the thing was, they were written all over. Yeah. But I was caught, so I was naughty.
So what did you write?
I can't tell you that. But I got 100 lines for it.
100? Oh, back in the day of lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how old were you?
Oh, about 6.
Okay. Do you remember what the line was that you had to write?
Yes, I must not write on the desk.
And did you? Again?
No.
You didn't do it again?
Well, funnily enough, I did actually at secondary school.
You did?
Yeah.
We'll come to that in a bit then.
Yeah,
so
that's a different story.
Your reception teacher then, your first class, do you remember who she was?
Do you know, I can see her name clear. I can see her face clearly, and I know her first name was Catherine, but I can't remember her second name. Yeah. Which is odd, because normally you know them as Mrs.
Yeah, you do.
I do remember Mr. Everett, who taught in one of the classrooms there. Yeah. I do remember him very clearly. Yeah, but I can't remember the name of the head.
No, yeah. It's sometimes you don't know, do you? And no. I think it's like in some of the schools I've worked in as well. I know the heads that were visible, but sometimes they're not always visible, are they?
No.
Were you there when we used to get free school milk?
Yes, I was, and it used to be warm. Yeah. And it used to be horrible.
And creamy at the top when you used to
that's right. Yeah.
And so you remember having the milk?
I do indeed, yes. Yeah. And they came with the silver tops, didn't they? You had to break through those, and it's fascinating. Bit different to small beer that the kids had all those years ago with the charity. But I do remember that, yeah. So
as you progressed through the school, what were you particularly good at?
I was more humanities than science. I mean, I've always found actually that I've had to work really hard to learn things and to understand things. I wouldn't class myself as naturally the brightest person in the class. Mm. So I've always had to apply myself quite hard to understand things and to get where I've got to. So I always quite like the arty stuff, because that was less intense than the science stuff and the sort of maths.
Did you let it slip that you're a musician?
Yes, I did. That was a faux pas. When I was at school, I was in a band, and I played the piano. I did grade 6 when I was young. I used to play in the village we lived in. I used to play the piano in the church, one Sunday in 4 because the organist couldn't make the 4th Sunday.
Right.
So the vicar asked me if I would come in and play the piano, which I did, and I really enjoyed that. But yes, and then I kind of lost touch with that over the years. So I know you're a very accomplished pianist. If we sat down together at a piano now, I wouldn't know what I'm doing because I haven't played for years.
It's never too late.
I might do a bit of chopsticks.
Yeah, but how did you start to have piano lessons, for example? Was it something your school nurtured or your parents?
No, it was my nan.
Oh, your nan.
Yeah, and she had a massive influence on my life. As long, same way that all families influence people. But my nan was a very, very accomplished pianist, and she taught the piano. And I used to practice in the morning before I went to school. And we lived in a semi-detached house. So I'm sure that used to annoy the neighbours. Me about 5:30 in the morning, tinkering away on the piano. But my nan used to teach me, and I still remember clearly the day when I came home from school, and she said, "Do you want to learn the piano?" Because she was with us. And I said, "Yeah, I will. Yeah." And ever since then, I've still got all of her sheet music.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And have you got brothers and sisters?
Yes, I've got an older brother, I've got an older sister and a younger sister.
Do they play as well?
No, Jen played a bit, but no, I was probably more the musician. Yeah.
Do you play anything? You said you played the trumpet, was it?
No,
not
just
the trumpet.
Just the piano.
Just the piano.
Yeah, just the piano.
And do you think learning how to play the piano instills discipline in other areas in education?
It does. Yeah, it does. I mean, focus, practice, and determination in some respects, because you've got to master the piece of music that you're in. And when I was at secondary school and we were messing around in the band that we were in, you're kind of part of that team, and you've got a part to play. So I think it learned me quite a few skills actually in that respect. I went on to do music O level, in those days as well, which was great. And funnily enough, when we had the remembrance service just that last week, the Elgar music that we played was one of the bits of music. That's the bit. I studied that as part of my O level.
Do you know what? And it's weird because I know I'm older than you. That was on the syllabus when I took my O level as well.
Right.
Yeah. And so with playing the piano and obviously those skills, you got to grade 6, so you would have to take your grade 5 theory as well.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Do you remember how awful that was?
I don't, because it was a long time ago. I mean, I was 16.
Yeah.
When I got my grade 6, and I was in my last year of Oatle Community College then.
Yeah.
But I would have done it to get to it.
Because I think for anybody that's listening in, it's back then there was one music board that dominated everything, and you had to
go to them, didn't you?
Yeah, you had to take your theory, your grade 5 theory before you, and I think it's still the case actually for that exam board, to be able to progress to grade 6. And I think it was the horror, wasn't it, that you had to take this exam?
Absolutely. And I've never really enjoyed exams, and I remember going to that because you had to go to wherever it was. I think it was somewhere in Croydon or somewhere.
Yeah.
And that was an ordeal.
Yeah.
That was like taking a driving test. It was. It was like, right, and you had to answer all these questions.
Yeah.
And then there was a practical piece where you had to play some music. It was tough.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember I used to get physically sick before an exam, even go to, because ours were held in like musty church halls and things like that, and the examiner was very stern. They're not like that now. They're actually more smiley people now than they were back then, but it was quite daunting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you took music O level.
Yep.
Having gone to a secondary school, was it like a comprehensive school?
It was a community college. So that was in Hayward. So I grew up in Ardingly, and in Haywards Heath was the nearest village. So that was a bus journey every day with all my school friends to get to school, which was great fun. And I ended up doing 10 O-levels in those days. I remember the grades I got. I got 2 A's, 3 B's and 5 C's.
Wow, that's well remembered.
Which was,
and well done.
Well, and the reason I remember those is because I was reasonably happy with that, not so much with my A-levels, which was the 2 years which I didn't do very well in.
Right.
I remember I got 2 C's and an E for my A-levels because I was somewhat distracted over 2 years.
Well, we'll come to that in a minute. Let's go back to the O-levels then. So you took, how many was it, 12? 10.
Yeah.
So obviously you got the core.
Yep.
And then and we know you did music. What other subjects did you do?
I did history, geography, I did music, I did two maths A-levels, 2 English language and literature. What else did I do? History, geography, DT.
DT, yeah.
What's the other one? I can't remember.
No, it's a long time ago. And
yeah.
because some of the subjects now are actually called different things, aren't they? So I think when I was at school, it was like home economics, and whereas now it's food technology, isn't it? The titles change as well.
Yeah, we did have home. I don't know if I did an O level in that, but I remember doing home economics. My sister did home economics, and funnily enough, whenever she brought stuff home from school that she'd cooked, I always used to sniff it before I'd eaten it.
Oh, really?
and every time now she cooks something, I still sniff it. Yeah. And she always tells me off for it. It's quite funny.
Well, you're obviously better behaved than I was at school. I've got a home economics story, and I can't tell it online, but I'll tell you afterwards. So you've got that broad range of O levels, and then you were playing the piano as well. Were you sporty as well?
I was, yeah. So one of the things I really remember of Oathall Community College, Mr. Goter and Mr. Milton were the two PE teachers. Yeah. Really lovely guys, and they were just really helpful to all the lads and the girls we were doing all different types of sports. But they taught us how to play rugby and how to play football. Yeah. And I was already in a few teams playing football. And Mr. Milton was the person that then was running the Mid Sussex county team. Yeah. And he picked me to play centre half. Which I've never, I was really proud about that actually. So that was good fun. Love sport. I mean, we used to play all sorts of sport. Anything with a racket or a ball or any competition, I just love. Yeah. I could literally sit and watch two flies crawling up the wall and try and work out which one's going to win. That's me.
Yeah, I think I've found that out as well. Yeah. And you were sporty. You had all the music. You got the academic going on. Who was the scariest teacher in your school, and why?
Well, there was a guy called Mr. Rimmer. John Rimmer was the head, and he was properly scary. He'd literally throw the window open and go, "You boy!" Yeah. And anyway, he was a proper disciplinarian. But he ran a good school. Yeah. It was a really good school. Yeah. Was it all boys or was it? No, it was girls, but it was joint, yeah.
Yeah.
And I became head boy.
Did you? Well, I didn't know that.
I was proud of it. Yeah, no, and I think it's the same now. Your peers vote you. Yeah. And I was head boy. Yeah, I was head. There was a girl called Lynn, who's my wife's called Lynn, but this is a different Lynn. Yeah. And she was the head girl. And they were good times because we had a team of prefects, and we used to do the rotas at lunch and the sort of monitoring and all that sort of stuff.
So you went on into the sixth form. Yep. You took A levels in.
I did. I started off doing maths. So I'd done 2 maths O levels, and I struggled with maths until there was a change of teacher, and actually suddenly it clicked with me at O level. Yeah. And it really taught me something actually, that if you can get stuff over to people in a certain way, you really can get your message over. And actually that change of teacher made a massive difference to me. And I did maths and I did statistics, which I loved, because I quite like playing with numbers in that respect. But I went to college having chosen to do maths A level, and I'll never forget this. I lasted about 40 seconds. Really? Yeah, because there was we were in the class, and this the teacher put up an equation on the board and said, "Right, what's the answer to this?" And all these hands went up, and I just looked there and went, "I have no idea."
Gosh.
And that was it. And I thought, you know what? I thought I was keen on maths. It's not one of my strengths. I'm more about the sort of people type stuff. And so I actually dropped that to do sociology. Yeah. And I did economics and I did German as well.
Well, I didn't know that one as well. Right, okay, got a job for you afterwards as well.
9.
So I understood that bit. So because maths is a totally different ballgame, I think, after O level. Yeah. It's one of those things, because I started off doing physics. Really? I loved physics, and so I had physics, maths, and music. Yeah. And I was like you. I lasted less than half a term. I just couldn't see how people got from A to B. I just couldn't do it. It wasn't obviously my brain wasn't working in that way. And I changed to humanities, English, history, music, but kept maths on for the first year. Okay. So sociology. What skills did you get through to the A level?
The thing about the people bit of sociology and community and how society is brought together and how people connect and what the class system is, I just thought it was fascinating. And I started to really get into I'd always been in sort of leadership roles and in the scouts and in the football teams and things, but getting a deeper understanding of people and how what makes people tick and how groups and teams and things are formed, started to really interest me. So I found that fascinating. And then I'd go from there into economics, where I'd be doing, the sort of business type stuff. And then I'd go there and then be talking German. And but it was great. Sociology was a really good degree for A-level for me, because I think it gave me something different. And as well, it kept me out of that maths classroom, which I'm very grateful.
And it's really made a revival as well.
It's
very popular.
I think it can be seen. It was seen in the old days as a bit of an easy one, but no, I think it's so important. You know, people and how society is built and how communities work and all that sort of stuff. I think it's fundamental. And
you said that you played for the church 1 in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Did you do anything else outside of school that helped you, learn those leadership skills?
Well, a lot of sport. I did a lot of sport, played for local teams and things. Cubs, Scouts. I was always involved in stuff in the village and in the community. I think that's where I got my first taste of, being in a team environment and being in a sort of leadership role. I also took an enormous amount from my father. So he was a massive influence on my career. I saw his work ethic. I saw the sort of things that he went through in terms of some of the challenges he was facing with his work. They had an issue where, as a management team, they did a buyout. So he assumed this sort of corporate leadership position when times were tough in their business. And I remember some of the stories he was telling me about some of those interactions. And I found it fascinating. And it really started to pique my interest in business and people and how people work and how it all kind of, sort of fits together. So I took a lot from that, and of course then leadership is not just about title, it's about what you do, it's about the change you can make. So you kind of learn those skills. I think there's an element of you're wired up that way anyway to some extent, but you can also take stuff from the experiences you have and the people that you work with and the family that you have.
And German as well. That's probably a really demanding A-level, I would
Yeah, it was actually. It's a very different language because a lot of the words come at the end where you expect them to come at the beginning.
Right.
It's quite a sort of, throaty type. I did enjoy it. I mean, I actually thought that it might be something that I'd do a bit more of in my career. It's turned out I've never done anything since then to do with German, apart from having been to Germany. So, my German knowledge now is pretty limited. But now and again I'll burst out with Ausgezeichnet or something, But I loved it. It was good fun.
Yeah, brilliant. So then, did you get much careers advice in school?
Do you know, it's interesting. Not really, because having said... so at community college, I was fixated on being an accountant. Oh. But it was only because I'd started to get the maths bit.
Yeah.
And when I did my O-levels, I thought, might have some chance of being an accountant. Then I went to sixth form, and I thought, no, this ain't going to work. We did have the careers counselling session, but I don't really think it was more about university pathways, if I'm honest, which was fine. But I would have liked to have had some challenge and some thinking more broader, and looking at the sorts of things that I was good at in terms of what could I go on to potentially do as a career. And I think that was a bit of a failing. Funnily enough, when I got to university, I did a business degree, and I really enjoyed accountancy because again I had somebody who could really get that concept of P&Ls, balance sheets, cash flows over, and I think I may have then gone on to have perhaps looked at that again, but no, I think that was an area that we could have done a lot more in.
But I think it was very different back then as well, because there were careers, weren't there? Accountant, doctor, teacher, lawyer, and they all promised you a long career, didn't they? It wasn't. It's not like today where there's all this uncertainty in the world. So I suppose the career advice was quite limited back then, wasn't it, as well?
It was, and so that's why I decided ultimately to do a business degree, because I thought that's going to be something I'm interested in, something I've taken from my father in terms of his experience, and it's general. And with that kind of sort of degree experience, you can go into so many different avenues, and into all sorts of different trades and channels. So
when you went away to university, were you far away from home?
I was, and I've mentioned this to you before, because when I first went to university I struggled, if I'm really honest. So we lived in a little village in mid Sussex, not far from where our school at Hassocks is now. So I know that area very well, and I did struggle actually in terms of adjusting to life. The reason I did that is because I didn't do very well at my A levels, as I've said, and because of that, I had to go through clearing.
Yeah.
So one of the great things I think about getting a good start at university is if you get your grades that you want, and you get into the accommodation that you want, and then you're settled.
Yeah.
And I was unsettled when I first went because I was living on my own in a city that was massive.
Oh, crikey, yeah.
Because I got the dregs of the accommodation choice. And so that was difficult. And I think it took me about a month, maybe 6 weeks to really adapt.
Yeah.
And it did impact my mental health. I don't mind saying that. That's actually what happened. I sought some support from people at the university for that, which was great.
Because you were from a big family, so all of a sudden you're without your siblings, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Your role models.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big city on your own.
But then it clicked into gear, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And it was... one of the great things about going to university, it is so much more than just knowledge. You're gaining, and it's a bit like school in general, you're gaining skills, you're gaining behaviour, you're understanding what it's like to live. And you are, if there's nothing in the fridge, it's your fault because you're the one that has to put it in there.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got any money, you've got to go and get a job.
Yeah.
So you learn all those things, and suddenly, in my mind, I went from feeling sorry for myself to, do you know what? Actually, one, this is really good. I can make something of this. And then I started to get that drive and that ambition of, right, do you know what? I used to be in those leadership roles. That's what I want to do again, and that's where I really focused, and I ended up with getting a 2-1, which I was really pleased about. I did a placement year for my third year working in marketing for an insurance company, and I was lucky enough that they offered me a job at the end of that year if I graduated with a 2-1 to do a management training program.
Brilliant.
So I did a graduate management training program for 3 years with them, and I loved that. It was an industry that it wasn't really for me.
Yeah.
And I'd always had bar jobs, and I'd loved the fact that the pub environment was always something that I enjoyed. The connectivity with people, the buzz, the challenge of it. And I saw a job advertised for a trainee area manager role for a brewery, family brewery called Greenall's in Warrington in the northwest. So I went for it. I was fortunate enough to get it, and that was 1996. Having poured my first pint in 1989 when I was 19.
Yeah.
And in 1996, I got my first job on the other side of the bar in the industry, and I've been in it ever since. So what's that?
Brilliant. So it obviously grabbed you, and you had a good pathway, and
absolutely.
so the company that you were working for obviously looked after you as well.
They did. They were very good. And so within the first year, I then got my first area. So I became a fully fledged business development manager, and I was looking after 44 pubs in St Helens.
Wow. Between
the M6, the M58, the East Lancs Road and the M62, a small geographical box. And wow, that was a learning curve.
Yeah. Because
I was this sort of young lad from the home counties, relatively posh speaking, walking into some really tough pubs.
Yeah.
And of course I didn't know anything.
No.
You're so green. And I was talking to very experienced licensees, and that was another lesson in life.
Yeah.
So you learn those skills about how to deal with people from all different walks of life, with all different experiences. But that was a very, very steep learning curve.
I can imagine, because obviously there's lots of different characters, aren't there? And that's what makes a good pub, isn't it? Like what makes a good school, having characters in a school as well.
Yeah.
So I suppose you would, as a young man, would have to hold people to account as well and know every trick in the trade.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you find that difficult?
I actually quite enjoyed it in a perverse way, because you'd have to make sure that people were paying the bills to the brewery. You'd have to make sure that people were buying the product from the brewery. That they were looking after the premises, that they were running it according to the law, all that sort of stuff. So the level of knowledge, and you had to have your wits about you, because where you could see that things weren't being run properly, you had to deal with it. You had to step in and say, look, I'm afraid this isn't working. and in some cases I had to remove people from the premises in terms of ending their agreements there.
Yeah, and that's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
Now, I can't remember when pubs were opened all day, because I can remember when I was a young adult, it used to shut at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then at 5:30 everybody would be on the front door knocking. Yeah. So was that still in place?
Yeah, so they used to do the split shifts. Yeah. So you'd have a lunch and then they'd close in the afternoon, they'd open again at 5. Yeah. And that all changed over the course of the end of the sort of 90s. And then, I mean, the pub industry is one that's had so many pieces of government intervention that have had unexpected and unintended consequences, with things like licensing law change, the smoking ban, which actually turned out to be a good thing. But the level of intervention has been unbelievable. But it's an industry that bounces back all the time. Yeah. Because, as you say, it's about the people, it's about the characters. They're all very entrepreneurial, very creative. It's all the things about running good teams, building business, and it's an industry which is like no other. Yeah. And I have to say, when if you go to a dinner party, and they say to you, "What do you do?" And for years I used to say, "Well, I sell beer." You know, wow, what a great conversation that is. Yeah. So I mean, it's fun. But as an industry, it's struggling now, which is, we're seeing the result of that, I think, in the charity, in terms of people really running into hard times. Yeah.
But there's some cities now where I think the pub trade is like literally gone, hasn't it? Yeah. And I know, like I was just saying to you, I'm going down to the south coast for the weekend, and places that used to be really vibrant, the boards are up, aren't they? Yeah. Places around here, it's such a shame. Yeah. The stats are high, aren't they? Absolutely,
they are. Well, there's 2 pubs a week closing at the moment in the industry. There was a survey done recently by the British Institute of Innkeeping that said, unless the members came back and said to the institute, unless the government takes serious interventionist action in a positive way, a third of all pubs are at risk of closing because they're not making a profit.
So what's that intervention? What does it look like?
Well, it's got to be supportive. So at the moment, the stuff that happens at the moment, businesses are paying more business rates, they're paying more national insurance contributions, energy costs have gone up, statutory wage costs have gone up. There's only so much of that you can pass back over the bar to the consumer. So margins are being squeezed, profitability is being squeezed, and cash flow, therefore, is a real issue for operators. So there's a way of trying to re-inject growth into that, to take some of that cost burden away. The government are looking at potentially reviewing the licensing hours again. My personal view on that is that you don't want to be open for longer, losing money if people aren't coming out. But I think there's still a bit of a shakeout in the industry still to happen. In some respects, the good operators will always be good operators, but they need to be able to make money to survive. So the cost base has got to change.
And I know it's a tricky question, and you can always just not answer it, okay? Because obviously, because your position. But do the breweries help?
Oh yeah.
They help the tenants and
unbelievably so. Yeah. And I've been in the situation where I've run businesses, I've had areas of people where I've run areas of pubs, and I've been the CEO of a business, I've been the MD of a national business, and 100%. I mean, it's a symbiotic relationship. Without the success of the operator, the pub company can't do well. And what you often hear in the industry is the small minority of people making a noise because it hasn't worked out for them. Unfortunately, they have a bigger share of the voice sometimes than they should have. And what, as an industry, we probably should be thinking more about making those positive noises about the benefits that pubs have to wealth creation locally, jobs, the fact that the pub is the hub, the amenity that it provides. But without the support of where there is a landlord involved, that's fundamental. COVID was a really good example. So when all the pubs shut, we froze rents, we gave grants, we gave all sorts of support to people. But to your point, those pubs in St Helens that I was running, those 44 pubs, in a later role, I was looking after property and acquisitions in another business, in a pub business. And I went back to look at, there was an opportunity to buy a slice of land from a large supermarket, one of the big extra Tesco type things. And they weren't using some of the car park, and they were thinking of selling some of it off. Oh, right. And we were looking at it to do a new build pub in those days. So this was sort of about 2012, 2013. And I went back to and it was in St Helens. So I drove around my old area. Yeah. And this would have been, 15 years or so after I was running that patch. Yeah. I would say probably half those pubs were no longer there. Yeah. Housing, retail, car showrooms, cinema, and that's just the evolution of the economy and the way things are going.
And it's also people's lives have changed as well, because I remember, I can remember in my teens that Mum would be at home cooking the Sunday lunch. Sorry, this sounds very stereotypical, but Dad would be down the pub, and at 3 o'clock we'd come home, and it was part of that ritual, wasn't it? That was probably life, and life is, and then that was before the supermarkets opened on a Sunday. So I suppose life's changed, isn't it? People do other things
absolutely.
now. So.
And now the occasions that people go to pubs have changed. So it's all about food. It's all about not necessarily alcohol. I mean, literally, I think it's about 2 in 4 drinks in some places are actually non-alcoholic now.
Well, you see that more and more.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some great pubs around here where the vast menu of zero alcohol as well.
It's health, it's people's habits, it's it's the whole evolution. There's a younger generation of people who've been brought up thinking alcohol is probably not as good as we probably felt it was when we were growing up. Those habits are changing, and that's just something that the pub industry has to adapt to. And it does. So when you think about the smoking ban coming in, all the pubs that had to do, they all started redecorating. And the colours of the ceilings.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Unbelievable. They went from yellow to, pristine white. And it's just because, now it's different, we have to evolve. And that happens in any business, and I think that also happens in education. Clearly from what I've seen since I've been here, and I've learned an awful lot about the sector. And it's happened to us within the charity as well, and how we've needed to evolve and move our organisation forward.
Because one thing which I think is a huge success of what you've done since you've been here is, and we touched on mental health as well, is the well-being of people who work in the industry. You want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there is actually a resilience crisis at the moment in the sector. There's a resilience crisis in terms of pub profitability. So that's one issue from a commercial perspective, but there's also a resilience crisis in terms of the people that work in the sector, and it's tough. It's really hard. So shifts are being cut, days trading are being reduced, the offers being scaled down in many places because of this profit challenge. So that all impacts on the well-being of not just the business owner but the people that work in the pubs, because they're struggling more financially. And we see the output of that in the charity services helpline, and people are coming to us with all sorts of reasons. Sometimes it's financial, but it's the mental well-being issue is a real challenge, because that might be manifested because there's an issue at work, or there's a relationship breakdown, or there's something else going on in that person's life. So it is very, very much more. We're seeing a lot of it because the pub sector is struggling, and because of that, people who work in it are also struggling, and it does impact not just them but their families as well.
Yeah, and if anybody who's watching this hasn't seen any of the promotional material that the LTC's done,
it's incredible.
It's superb, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can see it on the LTC website.
Absolutely. And if you're in the trade and you're struggling, 0808 801 0550 is our number to ring, and we can provide practical support, emotional well-being support, and financial support. So please reach out.
And people are talking more and more about it. As you say, that you struggled when you were a youngster, and I think so many youngsters do, especially through universities. You don't sometimes hear about it. I mean, there's been some terrible stats from some universities over the years as well. But it is tough. Growing up is tough, and becoming a young adult and going out in the world of work. With the challenges we've got at the moment, so the more people talk about it and come to the charity, is amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we have a personal responsibility, because we have to. If you're struggling, there is an element of I've got to deal with this, but you do need to be able to turn to somebody. And that is so important, because we get calls from people who really are at a point of crisis. We also get calls from people who really want some help to prevent getting to that point of I can't deal with this situation any longer. And what we've put in place over the last 18 months or so is a really up-weighted support wellbeing platform, which is really being well received. Calls into our helpline now are up 46% year on year. So we're going to have 5,500 people ringing our helpline this year. But I think we're doing much more now to get on the front foot so people are aware of what we are and what we're doing. And that seems to be working.
Because ironically, pubs are the busiest place you can be in, but when you're suffering, it's so lonely.
Oh,
it is. It's so lonely.
Yeah, it is.
And you had the Wellbeing Conference. That feels like it was years ago now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, was it? It was only October?
April.
April,
yeah. It was April.
Yeah.
And you know, we're well down the track and planning the one we're doing for May, which will be what we're classing that as our second album.
Yeah.
And it needs to be better than the first.
Yeah.
But the Wellbeing Conference was brilliant because it shone that light on the specific issue of wellbeing in the sector. And we had industry experts there, we had guest speakers, we had some research, we had panellists, and it was a concentrated 4 hours of this is an issue. Organisations like the Licensed Trade Charity are there to support in the following way, and it gave an opportunity for people to openly talk about it, which was great.
And what's the relationship like with other charities in the sector?
Good, yeah. Really good. I mean, we're all doing the same things. We all have the same challenges in terms of we want to raise more money, help more people, and reach more people, and help provide that support. But it's important that we collaborate. Now, within the licensed hospitality space, it is quite a crowded space in terms of charities. So we're all looking at defining who our customer is and getting our swim lane sorted out. But more and more, we need to be working together because we end up often supporting the same beneficiary or taking money off the same donors. So there's got to be a way in which we can scale that better.
And our trustees of the licensed trade, I mean, I must take my hat off to them. They're outstanding, aren't they?
They have given their time over many years, freely, willingly. They are passionate about the charity. They're passionate about the trade. They really get the principle of this is about helping the people who need the support. They're really urging me and the team to go further, faster in terms of the amount of support that we can provide to people. And they're super. They're a really nice broad church of people as well. So they're all bringing something different to the table. And it's a pleasure to work with them.
It's an amazing charity, isn't it? I think it's probably one of the reasons why I've been here so long as well. I mean, looking forward, well, let's look back. So let's think, if you've had your biggest achievement so far, what's it been?
Here? In the charity? Well, I think the thing that gets me out of bed every day is knowing that the actions that we take and the decisions that we take fundamentally change someone's life. And I've seen that in so many ways through charity services, with the work that we do. So for me, that's an achievement that I see every day. And it's humbling because you know what people are going through and you know that you can make a tangible difference. And literally, one of the things that we did initially, and as you know, because you were involved when we wrote our 5-year strategy, we looked at what's our purpose, what's our mission. And we agreed as a team that it was transforming lives and unleashing potential. And I think that was a real kind of moment where we came together as a team and said, right, this isn't just about helping people in the sector, it's also about transforming lives and releasing the potential of our students as well. Which I have to say I've been overawed by in terms of what schools do. I mean, President's Day here was just brilliant. Just seeing the way that the children have been turned into these confident, really well-rounded adults. And you just think, wow, this is incredible. They're mature, the confidence they've got.
And that feeling that you felt never goes away. Every year, it's not so I don't sit there and think, here we are again, another year. I'm just like staring at them. And obviously, if you've ever seen I can't stop the tears running down my face at the same time. But it's even with Oxford, they've just gone through an inspection as well.
Amazing.
Those inspectors were blown away with Oxford and Hassett's, what those children do.
Honestly,
because they go to work afterwards, don't they, these children?
Do. Those two schools have a 100% record, both of them, of placing children in higher education or work. Now that is a significant achievement compared to the national average, which is a lot lower than that.
Yeah.
So I think Mel and Rachel are doing a tremendous job at those schools.
I mean, some of those children were school refusers, weren't they?
Yeah, they'd be in their bedrooms. Yeah, they wouldn't leave their bedrooms.
And wouldn't speak.
Yeah.
And that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so, you know, for the fact there's children, and they're getting good exam results, aren't they, as well?
Yeah.
On top of everything else.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, genuinely amazing.
Yeah.
So I think if you said to me what your question, you answered your questions, that's really difficult to put it down to one thing, but I think that the Transforming Lives Unleashing Potential bit is probably one of the biggest things I think has been a great success for us as an organisation. And I've seen the charity side of the charitable services and the awareness and the work that we're doing in the industry, that's really stepped forward. So I think that is also something that I'm really proud of. And as you know, what we're trying to do at the moment is to think about the future and how we can do more of all of that.
Yeah.
So how do we reach more people, help more people and raise more funds? And that means that we can help more pupils, we can help more beneficiaries, and it's really exciting.
Because, like with our school here, being founded in 1803, and this sounds really corny sometimes, but, when we come across a dilemma or a problem, I think, what would they have done? Because, it was only 1803 and they didn't have any of the tools and whatever that we've got, but they were pretty astute.
They were. And I think because they were founded by licensees.
Yeah.
So they were people from the pub trade, that creativity, that entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And one of our values that we pulled together as an organisation when we were doing our strategy was we're honest, intelligent, flexible risk takers.
Yeah.
And that's what they were.
And we can't forget that as well. And there's accountability on all of us because we're all passing through at the end of the day, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I often joke to people I hope I'm making the right decision, otherwise I'm going to get a ghost visit tonight from those people.
That's a really good point. Because we are literally, we're a moment in time.
Yeah.
We've been around for 232 years.
Yeah.
And actually the responsibility that I feel very, very strongly is to ensure that we're going to be around for another 232 years. So this is about building the foundations further of the organisation to be able to do the three things that we were set up to do, which was to help people alleviate poverty within the trade, ill health, and educate children from the trade. And those three things are as true today as they were all those years ago.
Absolutely. And there's moments in time in history when significant things can happen, and I think this is one of them. Yeah. So looking forward, what do you see in your crystal ball?
I see more of what we're doing now, but doing it even better. I see us reaching more children. I'd love to grow the school footprint of LVS, of the charity. As you know, we're talking about the LTC Education Group, which would allow us to potentially at some point in the future expand our footprint in schools. And that's the reach more people and help more people bit from an education perspective. From a charity perspective, again, it's about raising more funds and getting in front of more people to be able to do more. We changed the lives of 40,000 people last year in the licensed hospitality sector through the support we provide. And that was, outcomes that people had as a result of coming to us and saying, I either need help because I'm in a crisis, or can you help me prevent to get to that point? Yeah. And we touched the lives of 40,000 people. I mean, in 5 years' time, I want us to be doing 80, 90,000 people. I want that 5,500 calls to the helpline to be 10,000. I want us to be raising over £1 million a year in donations from fundraising. Yeah. So there are milestones that we are setting ourselves. And people need to know about us in the licensed trade. So we're saying that in 5 years' time, 1 in 2 people in the licensed hospitality sector should know about the charity. Yeah. Now, if you go into a pub tonight, any pub, and ask every other member of staff, in theory, in 5 years' time, they will go, I know about the charity. I've heard about LTC.
And I suppose in the industry as well, the turnover stuff is quite big as well, isn't it? Because I had that conversation with a local pub where I live in London, and the landlord was telling me about a situation, and I said, have you heard of the licensed trade charity? Yeah. Now, lucky enough, we had the card. Yeah. I didn't know the number like you do, but I need to learn it. Yeah. And he just said, thank you. But it's amazing, as you say, if you walk round, people don't know yet, do they?
So, our work is far from done, and there is so much more for us to do. Yeah. But I think what's unique about our charity is that because of our commercial structure and the fact we've been around for 232 years, we've established a platform, financial platform, where all of our operating costs are covered. So that it means that if someone donates a pound to the charity, that pound, all of it, will go to a beneficiary. It's not diluted by covering overheads. So that's a really interesting fact that we have, and we're slightly different to some other charities in that respect. But what we need to be doing is an awful lot more of that, and helping more people. And that's what really drives me and really gets me out of bed.
And at the LTC Awards, that was the event in October.
Yes.
You really got that message across when you said every penny will go to the charity.
Yeah.
And the people that work here, they are the charity staff are amazing. I think the school staff are amazing. The charity staff are amazing. But we've gelled together more. Yeah. Since you've been in post as well.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. But I think one of the successes that I would point to is our colleague celebration day that we had in July, where we had all 3 schools together and the charity team, and that was one of the highlights of my time here so far, because I looked at people who were there, and we were celebrating them.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
It was all about the people, and actually we recognised that through some awards, but also just being able to share that time together and forget all the noise of the day job and just focus on the team and the people and the individuals was brilliant. And I think we are more of a one team. We are LTC than I think maybe we might have been before, is my potential view.
So looking ahead, let's say X number of years from now, you'll finally go to a beach with a mojito, as our HRD would say, and you'll look back and you'll go, what will you see that you've achieved?
I think if we've got all of the things that I've mentioned in terms of more people knowing about us, we've been able to help more people, and we've established the charity firmly financially again for the future, and we're educating more children from the trade, I will be very happy, because I think then I'll be, every day that I got out of bed and knowing things are happening to people and transforming their lives, I'll know that that's going to carry on, because it's going to post-date us.
Yeah.
And we've got to prepare the charity and the schools for that. So, yeah.
So looking back to the first day of school, what would you say to your 5-year-old self today?
Do you know what? Anything is possible. Believe in yourself. Take the opportunities as they come along. Don't forget you're going to fail. You're going to have moments where things aren't going to work, and you're going to feel as if you're not coping very well. That's absolutely normal. Use all of the above and all the support network you've got around you, your family, your friends, your teachers, your colleagues, the people that you admire. Take all of the best bits from those people and go and make it happen, because it's in your gift. That's it.
You could be a head teacher. I think I'd better leave the building. Chris Welham, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely weekend, everybody, and see you soon.